Hello again, Internet. It's me again with another Photoshop quick guide. So, this is the third one now. So the first two we looked at levels and how to balance light in your image, and we also looked at in the second one we looked at how to make selections with the magnetic lasso tool, and we also had a quick look at adjusting an image's brightness and contrast. So that's all well and good. What happens if you take an image and there are bits of the image that you don't like and you want to get rid of? Well, what you need to get to grips with is the clone stamp tool, and in this particular image that you're looking at just now, it was taken at my local beach, and we get all sorts of bits of driftwood washing up on the shore, and you get these quite kind of interesting shapes which are pretty cool, and this is quite a nice dramatic one. But there's something I don't like about it, which is this white seashell in the kind of middle of the foreground really annoys me, as does this sort of lumpy rock here, which really sort of disrupts the edge of the image, and I don't like that either. So I want to get rid of those two seashells, and to do that we're going to use the clone stamp tool, and you can find the clone stamp tool on the left-hand side menu, and if you right click, it's this one here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 icons down on the left hand menu, and to select it you just right click it and choose clone stamp by left clicking. When you do that, your mouse pointer will change to a circle, and just the white outline of a circle. And as we run our circle over, you can see as I run it over that seashell, you can see the seashell underneath. What we need to do is define a source somewhere to clone from, and in this case I'm going to grab, by holding down the Alt key, my mouse pointer changes to the little target, and when I left click, my circle has now actually filled up with sand from where I left clicked. So what I can now do is, when I left click over the seashell, I've got rid of the seashell, because what I've basically done is I've taken a copy of the sand over on the left hand side and I've just dropped it on the seashell by left clicking. I'll show you again with this other rock down here. So again I'm going to hold down the Alt key, which is one next to the space bar, and left click somewhere where I want to steal from, like here, and then I'm going to plop that sand by left clicking again just over the sand and over the stone, and there you go, it's disappeared. We've stolen it. What happens with the clone stamp is when you hold down the Alt key and you left click and then you let go, and then you go to paint somewhere, what it does is if I'm holding down the left key at the moment, I've actually taken a clone of that sky just to the left of where I was just clicking. You probably can't see it, but there's a very small crosshairs, and that crosshairs, which is to the left of my circle mouse pointer, and what that's doing is it shows me where we're copying from. So I'm actually cloning the sky here, and I'm changing the sky. If I wanted to, I can hold down the Alt key and make a copy of this rock, and then when I click, I've just made a copy of the rock, and then I could make another copy of the rock by popping another one there, and so I'm alt clicking on the rock and making a copy, I'm alt clicking on the rock and making a copy. So you can use the clone stamp not only to remove unwanted things from your image, you can also use it to clone them, to make copies and use those copies, and effectively that's what you're doing all the time. You're just, in this case I'm making a copy of that bit of sand and I'm covering up that rock, and I'm going to make a copy of that bit of sand and cover up that rock, and so on and so forth. So it's a really clever little tool, and one that's used an awful lot to remove or clone parts of an image that you really like. So that's the clone stamp tool. The other thing I'm going to quickly show you is in the image and adjustments menu. So we've been working our way through these, and we've looked at brightness and contrast and levels. Curves will leave because it's my favourite, and we could devote a long time to that one. Exposure's a nice easy one. So exposure literally enables you to do exposure compensation on your image. So if I slide this, you can see it dropping in exposure stops to 4 to 19 if you want, or you can overexpose your image. So that's at 3.95, 8.24, and whatever. I'm happy with the way this image is exposed, so I'll keep it at 0. What you can do as well is you can do fractional offsets, so you can offset the image, so you can overexpose and then slightly offset the exposure, which is kind of cool, and you can do gamma correction through here as well. So you can change the gamma levels on the image as well if you want to. Not one I use an awful lot. I tend to, rather than go through that exposure one, I tend to use levels instead. But exposure correction is a different way of doing it. Vibrance, I'll give that a miss as well. It's not a very scientific one. It simply supposedly makes your pictures more vibrant. So there you go. I don't use that one. Here's one I do use: hue and saturation. So the good one is saturation. So you can give your picture a boost in saturation. We can really oversaturate the image and make it look really crazy. More importantly for me, because it's the first step in doing black and white pictures for me, is we can completely desaturate an image. We can take all of the colour out. So that's rather good fun. Lightness, again, just raises and lowers the lightness in our image, and the hue adjusts the colours. So it adjusts the colour temperature, so you can see that that is changing the colour temperature all the way through, changing the colours that are in the image, which is kind of fun. Not one I use. I tend to work with the saturation more than anything else. In this particular image, I've already kind of done this. I don't think it needs much else, so I'll give it a bit of a saturation boost. We'll be doing a lot more on these as the time goes on, but there are a couple I wanted to show you. Colour balance, quite an obvious one. So we can play with the shadows, the midtones and the highlights, and we can adjust the colour balance, which is kind of fun. Where were we? Image adjustments. Black and white, controversial one. This is the automatic black and white tool that's built into Photoshop, and just like the levels, it features the auto button, and it'll automatically make you a black and white image. I'm going to do a whole episode, a whole video on how to make pictures black and white. This isn't the best way, but if you're new to Photoshop, it's a nice quick way. Images, adjustments, black and white, and press the auto button. If you want to, if you're feeling a little bit more creative, you can actually play with these, and this will give you kind of a different image as you play with it. There's quite a lot of magenta in this image, is there? No, blue. Must be blue, yeah, and there's a fair bit of blue. So you can play around with the colours in the image. You can put sort of tints and change the hue of the tint, and you can do a bit through this menu. But essentially, it just gives you a very quick way of doing a black and white image. Channel mixer is good fun. It's got this nice monochrome button that you can tick. Don't have to. You can keep your photo colour, but let's tick the monochrome button. And you can really have fun with this. You can make kind of quite noisy images using the colour mixer. If you make your image monochrome, we'll do more on this when we talk about black and white. But if you didn't want to tick the monochrome button, by the way, image adjustments and the channel mixer, you can decrease the amount of colours. This is looking at different channels, red, green and blue. So we can look at the green channel, and we can play around with the different colours, the blue channel, and play around with the different colours. So there's some fun stuff there. So just a whistle-stop tour of what's in the images and adjustments. So that was looking at vibrance, hue and saturation, colour balance, black and white, and the channel mixer. So again, all of these things, by simply playing with them, you get a preview on the screen. If you don't like what you're seeing, you can simply cancel it, so it doesn't have an impact on your image. So again, if you're new to Photoshop, I encourage you to have a play with the images and adjustments. It contains all the kind of basic ingredients for some of the stuff that we're going to do later on as we move on to some of the slightly more advanced things. But there you go. That's how to use the clone stamp, and also a brief whistle-stop introduction of that next layer of functions within the adjustments menu, so vibrance, hue and saturation, colour balance, black and white, and the channel mixer. So feel free to have a play with them, and I'll have another video up in the next couple of days. Alright, cheers.